Williams Brothers Joker IPA.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I have got a bottle of this stuff. This is the Joker IPA from the Williams Brothers. And I think I got this from, was it Aldi or Lidl? I think it might be Aldi. But it was on the shelf. That has been in my fridge for a while and I've been putting it off and putting it off. Reason being, I've really gone off that brewery. When I first started drinking their beers, they were really good. The first beers I tried were that was fucking bugging me, that was. First beers I tried were the Williams Brothers Marshall range. It was a tribute to Jim Marshall, the amplifier designer and manufacturer. Of course, me being a muso, I wanted to try it just for the sheer novelty of trying a beer that was named after a guitar amplifier. And they were quite nice. They had a Belgian IPA, which was really good. They had a pale ale and a lager. And they were quite good, I have to admit. So I sort of warmed to them, tried a couple of other beers, they were pretty good. And then I tried the Frock, which is the Gruit beer, or the one that's brewed with heather. God, it was fucking vile, to be honest. You can watch the video of it. It's one of the older one of the older videos on the channel, and it really wasn't good. And that put a little bit of a downer on it. And then I tried some others from them. They're all on there. Someone actually pulled me up the other day and said you don't review enough craft beer on your channel. Well, matey boy, most of the beers that are reviewed on this channel are actually craft beers. So there you go. Count them up if you want to. Just check the playlist numbers out. Yeah, I will do British beers. I think there's quite a few British beers. The German beers and the Belgian beers are way behind, but most of the beers I've reviewed on this channel are craft beers. And this one, I don't know, I've just been sort of putting it off, and the brew sheet is sort of putting me off as well, because it's just a mismatch of everything, basically. And I'll get onto that in the description of the beer and the investigation of the beer. But a quick word about the Williams Brothers. They've been going since 1988. They have been, well, they started off as a homebrew shop, and they have been brewing since 1988 on various scales. They've expanded and expanded. For some reason, they brew a hell of a lot of stuff now for Aldi's, and it's rare that you will go in there and they will not have some of their beers on the shelf. Now, I'm sure they're especially brewed for Aldi, and I have tried them. Look at the reviews, look at all the Williams Brothers reviews, and they really haven't been good. Now, I know when you brew for a supermarket, you have to compromise because there's profit margins to be met, etc., etc. But the beer really wasn't good. Don't be wrong, there was a couple of good ones. The lager wasn't bad, I will say that, but the other stuff, I just didn't like it. But as I say, they should know better. They've been contract brewing for and contract canning and bottling as well for other Scottish brewers, and they're actually based in one of the old Scottish breweries. There used to be an old Scottish brewery called Youngers. Do you remember them? Young's Tart and Bitter. I think it's the same brewery as them. They've taken that over now, and their bottling hall is now their brewery, and that goes way back. But they've been going since 1988, and don't get me wrong, they do some good stuff, but they really are hit and miss. So that's why I've sort of been putting that off. But I'm running out. The fridge is going bare at the moment. reviewed almost everything. I've got a couple of Christmas beers left in there. I may have to break into them very soon unless I get another delivery sorted, which I think I've got one coming next week. So, and that's mostly Belgian stuff, so keep an eye out for that. But let's investigate this beer anyway. Let's stop talking about the brewery, because I've got a lot to talk about as I investigate it. Right, quickly, it is a 500ml bottle. It is 5%. On the back of the bottle it says, originally developed in the 18th century for export to the Far East. Well, it wasn't Far East, it was India. India's not the Far East. India was the subcontinent. India Pale Ale survived the long seas thanks to its high gravity and generous hop content. That's not strictly true. Please look at my history of India Pale Ale video that I've done, because this myth, and even I fell for that in my earlier videos, it really is a myth that, you know, they packed them full of hops just to survive the journey. They didn't. They packed them full of hops because people liked the bitter taste. That is why. Anyway, I'm not going to go into rant mood on this, so calm the fuck down. Survived the long voyage thanks to the high gravity and the generous hop content. Well, that's bollocks. With a fresh citrus aroma and bittersweet, full flavour, Joker is one wicked brew. Yeah, righto, whatever. The brew sheet is honestly, it's like a fucking shopping list for a home brewer. They have put so many different malts and so many different hops into this. The mind boggles as to why they need so many different ingredients. They have put in this, they have put pale malt, which is the base malt, I understand that. They've put rye, oats and wheat. Now they're three adjuncts that, well, one, I can forgive. Two, possibly, depending on the style of beer, IPAs can get away with wheat and oats. A lot of the American styles use that, certainly the New England, they use that to give it more body. But they've also put Vienna malt, pale crystal malt, and as well as all the, you know, the other adjuncts that are in there as well. The hops are even more abundant. It's sounding like an American IPA with all these American style hops, because they've got Cascade, got Mosaic, got Chinook, got Citra, and they've got Magnum. There's 5 different hops. Now, that's not unusual to have 5 different hops in a beer, but with all the other different types of malt, I do wonder why. I do wonder why they put all that in there. But the proof will be in the tasting. If this tastes good, then I will understand. So, let's get this open. Let's see what's going on. Now, I'm slightly getting fed up with tasting IPAs because there is so fucking many on the market nowadays. I just think, fuck me, come up with something original. There's the cap. Typical Williams Brothers cap. Going to collection. Yeah, as I say, there's so many people doing IPAs now. I'm just getting a little bit tired of them. It's just, you know, how many fucking IPAs do you need on the market? But that's not for me to question. All right, let's see what we're getting on the nose. Now the IBUs are 30 on this, which is just bordering on the bitter. Oh, what we're getting? A bit of grapefruit on there. Do you know, I swear I've got the fucking coronavirus. I cannot smell a fucking thing. I'm not, otherwise, no, that's a lie, because I've had some Belgian beers and the aroma's been quite big, but it really hasn't got much aroma at all. I would have been expecting a hell of a lot more. With all them hops in there, certainly. A lot more citrus. But it just isn't there. There is vague grapefruit, a little touch of mango and passion fruit. That's very clear. Now they do actually admit to putting finings in their beer. Finings, if you don't know, is the fish bladder, which gets rid of all the cloudy residue. Not really something I'd recommend, but we've been drinking it for years, so you know, any damage that's been done has already been done. Really doesn't smell of much. Haven't got much hope for this, so let's see if I'm talking crap or not. Cheers. The IBUs are 30 on this, and the IBU measurement system I have found in the past to be quite deceptive. There's times when I've thought that, you know, a beer's going to be really sweet, and I've drank it, like certainly an IPA, and it's been really bitter, and you know, the IBUs have been quite low, and I have questioned it. This is about right, because I have tasted lagers where the IBU has been in the mid to late 20s. This is 30, and it is reminding me a little bit of a lager. This is weird. With all them ingredients, certainly the hops I'm talking about now, with all them hops, you'd think this was going to be an absolute fruit explosion, full of resinous pine, mango, grapefruit, passion fruit, orange peel, maybe a little touch of lime on it. Really isn't. This is quite malt heavy. And first thing I thought of when I drank this is they've called this an IPA, right? Now, Cloudwater did a hoppy pilsner, and it tasted really, really hoppy. It was like more like an American pale ale rather than a lager. This, if Cloudwater had put this out and said this is a hoppy pilsner, I'd have said, yeah, not bad. I can see what they're doing, because this tastes more like a lager than an IPA. There was a slight bitterness on it, so maybe you could have called this a British pale ale, or a British, not so much pale ale, maybe a British IPA, but it's tasting just like a lager. And to be fair, I will say, not a bad lager. Although it's not, I mean, it's quite cold as well. Maybe I'm dulled down some of the flavours because it has come straight out of the fridge, and it's been in the fridge absolutely ages. I've been avoiding reviewing it. But there's a sweetness to it. Fruity sweetness. Touch bitter on the back end. That's the only indication that you've got some American style hops in there. But the malt is quite big on this as well. I have to say, it's quite drinkable. It isn't bad at all, which is unusual, because I have been putting this off thinking it's going to taste like a bad supermarket IPA, you know, with that horrible, I call it stewed leaves type flavour, which is, it's just bad malt and hops, just bad hops. But this is quite pleasant. Not bad. I wouldn't have classed it as an IPA though. It's reminding me of a lager, and a reasonably good lager at that. Nice little fruity note on it. Clean drinking, smooth. Yeah, not bad. Nice malt on there. I'm getting sort of biscuit malt on there. The wheat and the oats and the rye, I don't know why they've put that in there, but if it all goes up to make this flavour, it's quite nice, I have to say. Now, when I say nice, I don't mean it's flavoursome. I mean it's quite drinkable, very refreshing coming out of the fridge like that. Almost lager-esque. Hasn't got the big bitterness that I would be expecting from all them malts, especially the Magnum hops, which they use for bittering. Quite pleasant. I'm going to finish that. And what makes it even more palatable, this was £1.74. Now, to be honest, if I was having a barbecue or a party and it was a choice of this or any of the macro brewed lagers, I'd be going for this, and I would enjoy it because it tastes like a very drinkable, clean lager. There's some fruity notes on it, I will give you that, but they're not big, they're quite subtle. The malt is quite big on it, and it's quite sweet too. You're getting a little bit of sweet fruit on it. It says wickedly hoppy. I'm not getting that at all. I'm getting a very nice malty backbone all the way through. A very subtle hint of fruit. No resin, no big bitter grapefruit, no lime, nothing like that at all. Which is not bad. I'm quite impressed. Williams Brothers. I think you've mislabelled that. You shouldn't put wickedly hoppy. You probably could call it an IPA. It is slightly reminiscent of a British IPA. But if you'd have called it, I don't know, a Kölsch. If they'd have called it a Kölsch, because it's top fermented, I'd have sort of got it. Said it's not bad. It's a bit heavy for a Kölsch. There's more body on that, but not much. I mean, it's sort of touch and go. But I like it. It's not too bad. So what's the verdict on Joker IPA? Well, I had massive trepidation with this, and I thought this is going to be a fucking pour down the sink job, but it actually isn't bad. That is quite drinkable. There's none of the big American flavours that I was expecting, and with the wickedly hoppy slogan written underneath, I thought, you know, that's going to reinforce that as well, but it's not. As I say, and I keep labouring this point, it's very reminiscent of a, to my palate, a pretty good lager. There is some fruity notes on there. Now it's warming up, then that fruit is getting bigger, but straight out of the fridge, that is very drinkable. I'm starting to get some more of the flavours now, some more of the hoppy flavours, but it's still not bitter. It hasn't got that massive bitterness that you get from West Coast IPAs and some of the American pale ales. It's not bad, I have to say. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because for the price and for the flavour, this, you know, you could pick up 4 or 5 of these if you was going to a party or just a barbecue, and that'd be really nice. For £1.74, you cannot go wrong. Got this from Aldi. Don't know whether they're still doing it or not, but they do it on the Williams Brothers website. It ain't bad. I've tasted a hell of a lot more IPAs that have really not been good from supermarkets for that cheap price. That isn't a bad one. 7 out of 10, recommended for the price. And remember, beer is working class champagne.